Well, it seems as if we're going to be picking up the habit of waiting until the of seeing things actually colored in. But anyway, we are live in yet another edition of the Yoda Soda Creations the podcast. So this is the discussion based.
Kind of like
discussion based weekly podcast. Shindig, where we pretty much talk about Shindig, where the heads of Yoda Soda Creations, and if maybe a friend or two, although unfortunately this time one of our friends couldn't make the call, unfortunately. Or maybe he'll come in later. I don't know. Anyway.
We will try our best, obviously. But we can't always make it. I hope he can join us. Love hearing his opinions on things.
If not this time, maybe next week. Anyway. Discussion-based podcast where we talk about latest things that have dropped, or in this case, actually recap. And the reason why I chose Campfire Tales, a season 7 episode, last year obviously, and the reason why I chose this is because this week was actually summer camp for the scout trip we used to. Scout trip used to be. Yes, scout trip used to be in. Well, I'm now a committee. Well, now I'm part of the committee. I'm now part of the committee actually.
That's pretty awesome. That's a nice tie-in. I didn't notice that. I've been really busy as of late. It was a lot of fun. Boy Scout camp has some of my favorite youth memories I had there. That was a terrible sentence. I mean, I used going to Boy Scout camp. I looked forward to it each year.
I as well.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You got a lot of stuff done. Made friends. Pretty great all around. Kind of sad I'm missing out on it, but you grow up. So yeah, this was a fun episode. It kind of reminded me of that, telling stories around campfire and such.
It's not just growing up, but also adults have have some things to pay in order to actually become part of the responsible guardians in charge of the groups.
Yeah. I think overall it was a great experience. This episode was a lot of fun because like I said, it did remind me of my time camping, especially the start where they get attacked by a bunch of, what were they called again? Flighters.
Flighters. Basically a combination of flies and spiders.
Basically exactly what happens. Totally suggest camping though. I'm tempted to go camping again, even with experiences like theirs where they get attacked by a bunch of fighters. Basically the combination of the two worst things in existence. But overall, I loved doing Boy Scouts.
As did I.
It's kind of fun to get. This was kind of a reference back. This episode was kind of a reference to an older one as well, wasn't it? It was talking. It was like Rainbow Falls, was it? Or yeah, it was Rainbow Falls, wasn't it? When they went camping.
Yeah, I think the first time they did this was in Sleepless in Ponyville.
Sleepless in Ponyville, that's what it was. Okay. But it was a callback, right? Yeah, it was. Sure. So, again, loving the... I just love the tie-ins. The tie-ins are still amazing in this show. And I love looking out for them. And I love the writers, whoever does the tie-ins. Keep doing what you're doing. Because it's a lot of fun to look out, and it gives you something interesting for the fans to do. You know, if an episode, even if episodes are slower than usual, you know what I mean. usually they leave enough for the fans to keep interested. You know what I mean? At least that's what I do. If
That's the funny thing. Sometimes episodes are fast paced. This one, some episodes are fast paced, some have a slower pace.
Yeah, this one had. It had a weird thing where it was kind of all of the elements of the stories. All of them were different, which was kind of nice and fun, and different pace as well, like you mentioned. What do you think of that? I thought it was pretty nice to. I don't know. They kind of tailored each one to the elements, sort of. You know what I mean? Each one got one based on the.
Or at least a specific part of a certain character that was, or at least a specific part of the character that was telling the, or at least a certain part of the character that was telling the story. Because the first one was obviously earth-based, strength-based. The second one,
Yeah.
second one was more towards beauty, and the third one focused on the courageousness.
Yeah, so
On the courage factor.
Kind of big mix of stuff. Kind of what physically they're good at and what the elements are good at. Some of them are based on, you know what I mean? Yeah. Overall, what'd you think? Before we go in deeper into the analysis? How'd you like it?
Actually, I wouldn't say the first one had a hint of honesty. Which is supposed to be Applejack's element. I don't think there was a hint of.
There was a lot of generosity in the.
Yeah, the second one was more towards the element in question, generosity.
Yeah.
The last two were more focused on the element. The last two were more focused on the elements, actually.
They were a lot more obvious, yeah, the Italians. I think. What were your favorites of the little short stories? It's a pretty hard choice, I know. Applejack's wasn't my favorite. I'm just going to come out and say the story was a little flawed, I'd say. I think it was done better in the comic. I kind of like the action in Miss Mains, and I think Rainbow Dash was my favorite. It had the most interesting character. Well, I don't know. I just kind of like the voice actors in it, to be honest. And the action was pretty fun. It was pretty close for me between Misty Main and yeah. Flash.
It's interesting that they use Flash again. Use the name Flash again because we already had this. Because in Equestria Girls, it was already established that there was another stallion with that name. Only it was Flash Century. So.
Yeah, well, he's also in he's in the Pony World as well. Just in Equestria a little bit as well, but he's a royal guard technically, isn't he?
Yes.
So yeah, I was confused. Today went out for I haven't watched this episode in a while, just being honest, and I was like, when you texted me what I was going to be painting, I was like, I'm like Flash, like isn't he the guard and Equestria? And I'm like,
yeah, that's the thing. We need to. Yeah, that's the thing. Now that there are two Flashes, we need to be more specific of which one. We have to remember the last name as well.
Yeah, we should just go by Magnus and Sentry. That makes sense.
That would definitely work.
So we got Magnus and Sentry. I think I'm going to give her a blue scarf because it works a little bit better. And I'm going to make it rainbow. But what would you say are your favorites of the shorts?
It's almost like saying what's your favorite legend. It's almost like saying what's your favorite legend when only 3 were shown here, and the rest were, and the rest came along as episodes went along. That's something I actually wanted to talk. That's something I actually wanted to talk about. For a while, it seemed this season wasn't doing what previous seasons would do, which was build up to the final episode, build up to the finale.
Yeah.
So by the time this episode was pretty much where things got back on track. Legends started coming up, and it all built up to the finale. Legends started coming up, and it all built up to the finale.
Yeah. I was a little confused in this last season because I was like, are they? Basically, I did the same thing you did. I was like, are they going to start, getting into the main story we're going to see later on, or what's going to be happening here, guys? Come on, guys. But I don't know. In the end, it worked out. It was close, though. I would say it's one of the more rushed feeling of them, would you say? Because you never hear of these characters, and then, whoop, oh, no, they exist, guys. Hang on. And if you weren't up on the comics, I was up on the comics. Were you reading the comics?
I know of their existence. I've read a few stories. I just not quite hadn't the legends at the time.
Yeah, so these would be kind of out of nowhere. What? So if you went in not knowing what they were, really, did you? The first time you saw these.
Well, kind of out of nowhere, but at the same time,
you might have had a little insider knowledge, right? Probably like, oh, this is happening in the comics. Probably won't have any effect. And then, whoop, nope. They do.
that's what a lot of reviewers said. Some of them don't exactly. That's what a lot of reviewers said. Some of them aren't exactly that into the comics. So yeah, there's also to them this came out of nowhere. In the end, however, it all worked considering. Like I said, this was the sort of building up to the finale.
Yeah. I think they did a decent job. I think this, out of all of the season finales, this one felt the most rushed to me.
This wasn't the finale.
No, I know. Yeah, the finale in the end of this season, not this episode, but like the last episode in this season, it felt probably the most rushed out of all of them. You're kind of like, we got this episode, we got Campfire Tales, so we got a little bit of some of the characters, and we also, about Star Swirl. So you got
Star Swirl was already set up. The Star Swirl was already set up back in season 2. These guys didn't come until television wise. These guys didn't come around until this season. Television wise, these characters didn't come. Television wise, these new people didn't come. These new opponents didn't come around until season 7.
Jeez.
But yes, you're right. They were previously established in the comics.
So it's kind of like, I don't know. Were they trying to draw some more attention to the comic books, maybe, with these, or were they just maybe they just had a good idea in the comics and they ran with it? But how do you think this went about? Do you know how this came about, or how they started?
I guess it was a hint of. I guess there's a hint of acknowledgement, kind of like the episode we were talking about last week, Surf Fighter or Turf. A lot of season 8 has been pretty much acknowledging the movie.
Yeah,
this kind of worked in the same way. They acknowledge the comics. They acknowledge IDW is in on the whole pony thing.
It's kind of nice. I'm liking all this continuity. I think. Would you say they're listening to their fans more? Because I don't know. I'm liking the balance of listening to fans, because other shows kind of fail on this front usually. Either they listen too much or they listen too little. And I think this show is still pretty creative, and instead of just catering to the fans, they try to do something original, which I'd much rather have than like them just answering all of our questions. You know what I mean? It's kind of nice to get these types of stories. And they're basically lore stories, which is kind of fun as well. I've always loved, yeah. Lore and world building is always kind of fun. There we go. Just, it's always. I think it's a little bit of a balance, right? I think, like with Star Wars has gone a little bit too far. In the books, it went a little bit too far. There's a little too much explained. This is with Campfire Tales and such. It's just going on. It's making up new stuff, which I like. It's not trying to. It's keeping the mystery still a mystery. That's what happened with Star Wars. It became less mysterious. So you just didn't care as much. Like, oh, it's not magic, then what is it? You know what I mean? The whole metachlorian thing. No thanks.
By books, do you mean the comics or those chapter books or picture books or whatever was published for the expanded universe?
Kind of the expanded universe, yeah.
So the expanded universe in general.
Yeah, I'd say. So like the Yuzan Vong and stuff like that.
Mm.
That's okay. I kind of like the Yuzan Vong idea. I haven't read much of it, so I haven't. Well, I was going to, right? And then they're like, the new ones came out, and they're like, nope, none of that matters, guys. And it's like, oof. You just kind of like, well, I don't know. Anyways, we're getting too far into Star Wars. I just want to smack. Yeah. I'm liking the. I like the whole theming. Theming is amazing. Loved all the Mist Main area with their curvy horns, and there was a lot of unicorns as well. Like they were all magic based, and with all of them, they were all a certain thing. So like Flash Magnus they were all Pegasus, obviously. Before the Union, they had that Heartswarming Eve story explains. You know what I mean? So they're all separated before the unification of Celestia.
So you're expecting this buff? Oh, so you're expecting. Oh, so this is supposed to be before. Oh, so the stories are supposed to be before Heartswarming?
Wouldn't you say? I'd say that. They feel like that, wouldn't you? Well, at least they're more separated. They don't like each. It doesn't say that they don't like each other, but they're not working together. You know what I mean? And these guys come to what are they called? What is the whole group of them called again? I forgot.
Which group?
Basically, all of the big players in the end. Agnes, Star Swirl, and
the Pillars.
The Pillars. That's what they're called. Nice. They're all. It seems like it's kind of like an unheard of thing at the time. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, we need to get together. It's more of an event, whereas here they're just like, yeah. They were just the elements. They just came together. Like it wasn't that big a deal, I guess. Is this black usually? Are there when they wink like that? No, it's probably blue, isn't it?
Roughly the same shade you're using for the outline. Yeah, that's it.
Their noses are usually blue, or whatever color their outline is. Usually they don't have an outline for the eyes. Do they? It's just kind of white. Yes. Oh. This one's going to have a lot of layers. But yeah, what do you think of the whole idea of the Pillars? Did you like the whole branch? They've kind of not done much with it now. You know what I mean? They kind of just forgot about it in these newer seasons. Do you think that's for the better, or did you like it? And it's kind of sad that they developed all these characters and then they kind of got rid of them. They might come back. Do you think they're going to make a reappearance?
Yeah, I was sort of betting on the possibility. Similar to what they did with Gilda. You kind of expected her to be a one. We expected her to be a one-off at first, but nope. Apparently, they decided she needed a comeback, and it was a good comeback actually.
Who was it again? Sorry, I just missed that. Starlight?
Gilda,
yes. She came back way in the past. It was like first season, and then like 3 seasons later, oh yeah. We should have an episode with her or something,
Actually, I think it would be 4. Because he was in 5.
5, okay. Jeez, but still. The gaps in that are pretty substantial. Which way should she looking in this way? Or like this way? That's pretty scary.
Did you kind of have it centered? Did you kind of have it centered in the line?
Yeah. Ah, she's staring right at you.
Not that centered.
Not that centered. No, whoa. Calm down. They're like pink almost. Magenta, dark red. It's pretty hard to get her color, her eye color. It's kind of like this, isn't it? Near the top, it starts like this. There be a little white on this side? Probably not, though, right? No, there's no white. I think they had to do a lot in this episode. I think they paced it pretty good. What would you say? They moved around quite a lot, and they kept the viewer with them. That's always an issue.
Yeah, that's a good point. For as lost as you were, if you never read the comics, you weren't bored. You weren't bored. You were still driven in.
Still engaged. Yeah, you're still watching. Maybe a little darker. Yeah, that's better. Overall, I liked, again, I do like episodes with the Cutie Mark Crusaders. We got a little bit of Rainbow Dash and Scootaloo, which I'm liking. Like that. Always have. I'm liking, I'm actually reading a fanfic with them right now. Again, love fanfics with, covering that topic. Rainbow Dash and Scootaloo.
Good for you.
Always a fun topic. I hope they do it more. It was nice that they acknowledged it in this episode, and they had a little bit of that, and a little bit of cute action.
It's weird though. One moment you saw Scootaloo as the overexcited fangirl, and the next you still see her as a bit of a, oh gosh, this fanter will never leave. You still see her as a bit of a chicken.
Oh, not again. I think. I don't know. She does.
It's a bit surprising, though, that doesn't just constitute her. It's surprising that that nickname doesn't just stick to her current, hopefully remedied at some point. Flying. Or lack of current, hopefully that's remedied at some point, lack of flying. But it also constitutes to how she's still a bit of a fraidy cat.
She's definitely that. She is definitely that. I'm surprised how long they've done that. To be honest, it's kind of a callback. I'd say, wouldn't you say? It's a callback. To her being still scared. So she's kind of scarred from camping, isn't she? It's kind of funny that they took her back to that area anyways, you know what I mean? Like, get over your fears. It's not that big a deal.
She obviously still has a long way to go.
Yeah. Maybe farther down with this thing. Yeah. Need the pink. I should print a helmet like this. That'd be pretty sick. Print Flash Magnus's helmet. That's quite the job. Might tone that back in just a little bit, like have a mouth like that instead. It's gonna be a lot of work. I can do it though. Here, let's do that. Just take this line and just like that. Yeah, I think that's more her style.
Yeah, they're not gonna work.
You curve it a bit more like that. Yeah, I think that's a bit better, don't you?
Yeah.
Like this. Okay, yeah, it's not terrible. We just clean this up. Boom. Yeah, I think that's better.
Yeah.
Her nose is still a bit big, but it's kind of stylistic. I like it. You know what I mean? This one's gonna be a little more cartoony. Even more cartoony than usual. Yeah. Kind of looks like she's wrapped her hair around her neck. Is that just me? I'm just gonna cheat here. I'm just gonna put a draw the dots on. Yeah, that's
Looking good.
looking good. Okay, so yeah, give me another topic. What was something you liked? I talked about some things I liked, and then asked you what are some aspects you liked. I liked the feel of the lands, sort of.
Yeah, I meant to talk about. Yeah, I meant to talk about this. I meant to talk about this. The backgrounds had some very interesting calls to certain. Each one had a very interesting call to. Each legend had a very interesting call to a certain culture. One was Vikings. The other was one was a Viking sort of setting. The other one was a Viking sort of setting. The other felt a bit Chinese.
Yeah, either Chinese or Japanese, maybe Korean. Probably more Japanese.
Asian generally.
Yeah.
And the last one was Medieval Knights.
Yeah. More Romans. More Romans, I'd say. Just the feel. Their helmets are kind of a mix. They have the shield, which Romans didn't have. They didn't have I don't think they had shields that they could drop because they didn't really have the faceplate. I don't know what the purpose of their little faceplate was in this, because there was no bottom to their shields or to their helmets. So literally, all that flap was there to do was get in your eyes. It's kind of funny. I do like some armor, so I do know a little bit about armor. It is it's more of a Roman feel, I'd say. Romans are pretty fun, though.
Oh yeah, they have that Roman flair.
What's your favorite out of those? What's your favorite, culture?
I would definitely say I recognize the Asian look that Miss May was going for.
Okay, so you like that one, yeah.
Especially considering the fact that my family on my dad's side had actually originates from China.
Oh, nice. I would probably be the stereotype to that and say probably the Roman feel, and probably the Viking feel was my favorite because I was Norwegian mainly, which is obviously where Vikings came from, or one of the places they came from. They were not quite represented in their brutality. Obviously, they had more of a civilization going instead of just destroying everything and taking whatever they destroyed. Which would have been pretty funny if they went along with that, I would say, wouldn't you? They're just copied. They got they had the Asian dynasty type thing where the aristocrats were way more rich than the general public.
Although the architecture, I'd say, is pretty Asian.
Yeah, that's true. They had the Viking ship and stuff. Well, kind of like a mix. It was a really deep galley. It was kind of weird. That ship they had was kind of like a mix. It was kind of like a mix between Roman and Viking ships, because it was way deeper than a Viking ship would be. It had 3 decks, but the shields and stuff on the side were round. Vikings usually went for round shields. So again, they kind of mixed some stuff. It's kind of funny. It'd almost be a lot of fun for them to just go nuts and just make up their own nations instead of copying other ones. What would you say? I think copying nations is pretty fun as well, but it'd be interesting to see made-up armors and made-up cultures as well, you know what I mean? Because right now, there's it's made up, you know what I mean? Canterlot is totally not based on anything. Maybe fairy tales from Germany, but nothing in real life. I think they could have gone nuts, really. Just totally made up something new. Not dissing them, again. but they might have missed an opportunity.
There are, I think, some influence. I think some influence from certain areas. I think some influence from other cultures are probably needed if you're trying to
make up a new place, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, like, have you ever watched Clone Wars? Or even like, okay,
The originals
Avatar,
are
maybe. Yeah.
With Clone Wars, are you talking about the original? Two? Are you with Clone Wars? Are you talking 2D or 3D? Because they're
I'm talking
two.
3D. Yeah, I'm going 3D. The best version. Without a doubt, it can't be argued. You will not win in this fight.
You mentioned Avatar. I'm familiar with Avatar. Last Airbender, if you're wondering. Oh, are you talking about Last Airbender or the? Was it James Cameron that directed that film?
No, definitely the cartoon.
Yeah.
The movie doesn't exist. All right.
You're talking about the Shyamalan Last Airbender. You're talking about the Shyamalan Last Airbender. I'm talking about. I think it was James Cameron that directed a similar title, but it wasn't based on Last Airbender. It was.
Oh, you're talking about. Oh, yes, that one also is kind of weird. Yeah, I would say I'm talking about the Last Airbender cartoon show.
Yeah. I'm familiar with that.
2000s, let's say. Yeah. But yes, it was very heavily based on kind of Japanese culture, but each nation was based on, it had its own little style that was made up,
It's.
And it fit. All of their nations fit kind of what each one was doing. So, Fire Nation's stuff was all metal and, paper and things like either really thick or strong things. Paper just filling in the gaps and stuff like that. And then you go to the earth, and it was all stone, clay, stuff like that. Based on their strengths, sort of. And it could have been fun if they did something like, the Viking area or, that area would be, based on stone, or so all of their houses would be rock or something like that, or strong, like wood and stuff like that. And then, like the magic ones would be, based more in mythology, so kind of paper and wood and light things, and which they kind of did, I guess. I give them credit for that. But it was basically based on the Japanese culture, and then you got the kind of the look and feel of. Kind of like, I don't know. They could have made up designs. I guess they don't have. I don't know how big their art department is, so maybe they couldn't. Which is way easier to base it on something, which I'm guessing is the case. They're just like, we don't have time. Stuff. Avatar might have been more fun than that. But it was fun to see, when they went different places in Avatar, it was fun to look out for the different little visual cues that you get. But yeah, overall, the background was over-engineered, I don't want to say, you know what I mean? I spent a lot of time on it. And I'm sure this episode took a lot of work to produce for such a small episode and it's not crucial, you know what I mean? It's not like a groundbreaking episode. It's just kind of like a setup for other ones. They spent a lot of time on it. It was noticeable. Your work did not go in vain, and I'm trying to say, you know what I mean? The fans did notice it. It was very pretty. Again, the seasons are very these new ones. You can't say anything else. The backgrounds and stuff are getting really good. The effects and stuff.
There's definitely a quality upgrade as the series progresses.
Yes, by far. Like if you go back and rewatch some of the originals, it's noticeable. You're just going like this. You know, it's noticeable that they didn't have as much time, or they didn't quite know how the software works. So they kind of chinsed out on a lot of stuff. Or, you know, they didn't try as hard.
That being said, there are some impressive things that they were able to do in the Flash.
What do you mean? Sorry.
There's an occasional panning move, and that's
true. That is very hard to do. I've heard.
Especially since the program is pretty temperamental.
Yeah, they don't use a lot of. Okay, if they do use, they probably use assets quite a lot, but they do it in a way that's not noticeable quite as much as in other shows. In other shows, it's sometimes pretty obvious when they do something or reuse something, which isn't a diss on them because, you know, you can see how long it would take you. You know, I'm drawing just one frame, and it's not supposed to be animated. And it's taking ages, you know? So you could see the appeal to just not redoing things. How did I miss this much stuff? Do you see all those gaps? Jeez. Gaps everywhere. What am I doing?
Yeesh.
It's because I use that light background, and I couldn't see quite when I had missed something, I'm guessing. There we go. Fixing it up. I'm sorry, guys, watching the stream. I'll try harder next time. It's a constant battle to talk and draw at the same time. But one I think I'm getting better at. I can ramble for ages. It's hard to do a coherent talk. What would you say? Did you notice the first story? I noticed this. The first story didn't have any voice acting really. The next one did with Miss Main, and then so like the first one had no voice acting, and the next one did, and you know, like it was
not as much dialogue. Well, it wasn't dialogue heavy. It wasn't dialogue heavy. Yeah, you're saying it wasn't dialogue. Well, what you mean? I think what you mean to say it wasn't dialogue heavy because would you need to record laughing?
Huh?
What you're saying is that it wasn't dialogue heavy.
It was not. No.
We got the occasional laugh, but that was pretty much it.
Yes, they kind of. Well, those are stock. You know what I mean? Those are just always there. They kind of have like a catalog, I'm guessing, of laugh tracks and stuff like that, or you know, horse noise folder, or you know, like him when he was gonna get hit when the volcano erupted, and then was it Scootaloo, or no, it was Apple Bloom screaming. They were the same basically, so they just had Apple Bloom scream, and then they just used that. which is a fun transition. They played with it, even though they didn't have a voice actor for Raku, or what was his name?
Yeah, it was Raku.
It was Raku. They didn't have a voice actor, at least in this episode, for Raku. They still played with it and, played it off as a joke or, didn't draw attention to it, which is pretty nice. I'm sure, obviously, as a kid, you would never notice that. It would have been nice to have like Flash Magnus's, I really liked his voice actor. He did a really good job of being kind of a male version of Rainbow Dash, basically. So, props to him. Her shield's
yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. The Pillars had a diversity in genders, whereas the main six are basically all female.
Not even basically; they are hard all female. They were ahead of the curve, as it were. Nowadays, I'm fine with that. Obviously, we've now known them as being all female for ages, so it's not like they can change that. But it was nice to get how many girls and how many boys are in the Pillars. There's quite a lot of
3 of each.
3 of each. So it was even. Okay. And the assistant, what was his name? The one, the shadow pony.
Pony Shadow Stygian that was male.
Yeah. So we outnumbered them. That was kind of fun. They say that there are more boys. Well, I mean, there's an even amount of boys and girls in the entire show, but it's not very obvious. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell just by looking. I mean, if you were counting, if you're just staring at each frame and counted each one of them, then yes, there might be the same amount. But it's nice to start seeing that there are actually, the viewer can notice that there are the same amount of boys and girls. There's just seems to be more boys and girls in general, not just me noticing that. Which is fun. It gives, because their market is now they know full well that most of, I don't know. I don't think they need to do that though. I don't want to push them to do that. Because I don't know. We've just got these established characters. Unless we do some shifting, no. I don't think that will ever happen. Let's just be honest.
I think twice now they tried that. One was, I think twice now they tried that. One was a T sort of. The other was actually the other was a bit more legit. And and there were some people that there were some characters that just got into the act.
What are you referring to? Which ones are you referring to? Are you talking about Twilight and
the fabrication I'm referring to was Hearts and Hooves Day, where the CMC had a love potion, where the CMC made a love potion.
Oh, with Shirley.
Yes.
But that is now gone. That is not canon anymore.
And the feeling ones I was mentioning was actually earlier this season earlier in season 7 with Big Mac and Sugar Bell.
Yep, that's what I was. Yep, gone. You are no longer legitimate.
Was it?
Get out of here, Cheerly.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Cheerly, but it must be done. You've been dethroned.
I don't know. I'm kind of open to polygamy.
I like that. I mean, oops. What am I doing? Oh, I was pressing shift instead of the correct key. It's too much green. Overall, they covered a lot of topics in this. Had lots of stuff, and they did a better job than Justice League. Yay! I'm not gonna let Justice League live that down. They had like 7 characters, and they were not capable of doing it. I do think it suffered from the same amount of same types of problems. That basically any show that has like suddenly a lot of characters is going to be doomed to suffer this problem. You know what I mean? We went from having like, we know about these 3 characters a little bit if you watched, if and only if you watched this episode, right? You basically get all the negatives of having an episodic show that goes in between episodic and more just kind of on the nose.
Thankfully, most people have the nerve to. Thankfully, most people have the nerve to actually watch the show religiously every single episode.
Yeah, they don't have to watch everything to know what's going on. They do a pretty good job of doing that. I think we need more green. It's going to be like the feeding the mouse a cookie thing. I give green a little bit more, and then I'll have to give yellow a bit more. I hate this. Out of all of the characters I've drawn, Rainbow Dash's main is like by far the most annoying to draw. Because it's so noticeable if you get the colors a bit off. Because it's like super rainbow colored. She's definitely one of the more flashy of the characters, which fits her character as well. I would have to say. Her character design is as flashy as her personality. I'm doing that on the wrong layer. Let me stop you right there. I have painted Rainbow Dash before, and just physically, and that is a nightmare. I will have you know. Trying to get all of her colors in, because oil pastels don't quite work well. And with that, getting the vibrant colors like this is pretty dang hard. Oh, look at that! I think I'm done coloring it in. Look at that! Oh, she doesn't have it on.
Oh.
She has the dreaded orange tongue. Be like this. What shape is it? It's kind of like this. There we go. Perfect.
Yes.
Ta-da!
That looks good.
Can we scale this? Whoa.
Nope.
Oh. Do you think I should do shading or just leave it like that? go shitty. Are there any other topics we should talk about, or any other things you want to mention?
Well, whether you love or hate the pacing, at least they didn't back out in terms of background and characteristics. They made them more than just
kind of fillers, or yeah. They had some depth. I'll give you that. Depth. They had some depth.
More than just an image. They had to have more than just an image. They had something. They had to be something. They were more than just an image. They had to be something to them.
Yeah. They definitely had. Well, they were a little more cartoony, obviously, than most other types of shows would have to deal with. I don't really like nose shades, do you? Kind of like that. Doesn't really work. Or is that? Do you think that works? Maybe kind of like. Or is that too masculine? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you should leave the nose alone.
Don't touch that. Let's do these in a different color. These little in feathers. Look at that. So run a shadow down on each leg. This leg will be totally the different color. It's funny, again, I will point out, like in the last frame, just adding a bit of shading. Even if it's cartoony like this is pretty dang cartoony, it helps a decent amount because your eye fills in a lot of detail where it's like, oh, okay, that's behind that. And it just helps the person see that it's not just a single plane. There we go. Some here. Because that's under her shield. It's kind of nice that I don't have to draw her cutie mark. Thank you, Watch Shroud. Is that its official name? Flank shield. Or is it a skirt? This might be a bit too much shadow.
Like I said, they were more than just images. They have their backgrounds, they have their personalities, they have characteristics, and we also know partial inspiration for certain.
Oh, do they have parallels to the real world? You know what I mean?
Parallels to the main six. That's what I was going for. Parallels to the main six. That's what I was going for. Parallels to the main six. That's what I was going for.
Yes.
Radiant generosity comes from Mistmate. Radiant takes some of her generosity from Mistmane. Ravenous takes some of her courage from Magnus. AJ took some of her strength from Rockhuff.
She kind of adds to Rockhuff in honesty, you know what I mean? So she was kind of strength, obviously. She has strength and she has honesty as well. It's kind of fun. She's an upgrade of Rockhoof. What? Oh, how about this? How do you think the show would have been like if the main six were the pillars instead? You know, like we never knew about the main six, and the main six were the pillars were. Yeah. So there were a lot of guys in the show. That looks like she's got a mustache.
Real reversal.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I would have to see more of the pillars to really get to make my decision. What about you? Just right now, I would say I would have taken the main six, obviously. But that's just a theory. A game theory. Only it's not a theory, it's an opinion. My opinion.
Honestly, that would work more along the lines of Vsauce, considering that game theory is supposed to be for games, and this is a television show.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I think this is what we're gonna call our picture. Well, ooh, what if I send this to you and you can post this in your video or something? Do something like that. Maybe later. We can work on that. What if oh yeah, you know what I missed? You know what I missed? What did I miss? What's the series that I missed?
Oh, did I catch something that only you managed to catch?
What? I would say I missed these.
Can't be female without the eyelashes.
It's true. It's proven by science, actually, if you didn't know.
Fine, I'm guilty. I wear false eyelashes.
There we go. Perfect. Now let's see what that does. Oh, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that's definitely better.
That's like, yep, it's definitely a girl now. Before it was a little questionable, but now it's definitely solidly a girl. How did I miss that? You know, I was looking at your live stream, and that little shipping picture you got there in the corner. And I was like, oh, I missed that. That's pretty important. I think I'll call it quits on this. I don't really have anything else I want to add to it.
I try to find it. Ever since the layout change, I have always been finding images that are related to the episodes, and that was the closest thing I could find. It definitely shows parallels. What? Where is she? Oh. Oh, you were grouping everything together. Oh, you were grouping everything together.
And merge the invisible layer. Let's delete this one, because we don't want this one anymore. Oh. Wait, that was good, right? Yeah, okay, we're good.
There we go.
Where's... You know how to delete? Delete this whole thing. I want this whole thing gone. Is there a delete button? Add. Put this in the trash. Maybe if you select this. Oh well.
Did you trade the gear?
Hmm?
Did you trade the gear?
This?
Oh, sorry, my fault.
Usually there's a button down here, isn't there? Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Got it. Wow. I was gonna scale this up somehow. Best song ever created by man, by the way, that song. How do you... I want to scale this up. I wonder how you do that. You'll just be stuck with the size forever.
Let me tell you just about summer camp, which this episode is pretty much reflected on.
Yeah.
There was one time where I went with a group to a different part of the camp, and they basically and the staff basically told us they basically told us the legend of the camp.
Okay, yeah.
And this episode basically reflected that.
Was it because it was going downhill or something? At the campsite?
The fact that they were telling campfire stories.
Oh. No. Oui. Rainbow Dash got an upgrade, I would say this.
Gustav would have something to say about that sash. Oh.
I've never been very good at roller skates, have you?
I tried.
I would say that is a huge upgrade. Yep. Rainbow Dash confirmed for Mercy. I think all of my additions have been successful.
Mercy, is that Mercy, is that an Overwatch thing?
Yeah, that is, yeah.
I thought so.
Have you ever played War Thunder before?
I played neither.
Okay, well, let me tell you. Every year, April Fools, right? They do a huge event where they add something to the game, and it's just something ludicrous. It's a World War II game, so it's like, you know, they have planes and tanks and stuff like that. But their first April Fools, like 4 years ago, they added the Ponyland Air Force.
Oh, nice.
It was amazing. They added a whole nation of, you know, it's usually America, Japan, and Russia, and, you know, all the people that took place in World War II.
Mm.
They added basically yellow pony, green pony, purple pony, and they all had miniguns and bombs. And they had fighter pilot helmets like this. And they had little bottles. It was basically the best event they could have had. Here, let me find that. Look at this. We have technology. Boom, boom, boom. There we go.
Wow.
I mean, could you want anything else? Look at that. They got bombs, missile pods, Gatling guns. Oh, they're coming in on target. Like pink pony, white pony. Artillery fire incoming. They shot rainbows. Look at it. Surface target destroyed. They're going 800 miles per hour. Dropping bombs. Pulling out, they're blacking out. Oh, this is such a hard turn. Oh my gosh, look at that. Rad strats. Oh my gosh. It's coming in on another target.
Wow.
I'm not going to do the audio for this. I think he swears.
Good idea.
Yeah. But I mean, my sound effects are pretty good as well. Coming in on target. Oh!
Wow.
I love Pony down. He's going 800. Usually in this game you go like 200 cups. Wow. Oh. Like the kill feed. Look at this kill feed. Pink Pony destroyed a pillbox or heavy tank. The orange pony destroyed pillbox. Orange Pony has crashed. No, Orange Pony. But yeah, basically the best April Fool's event ever created. Wish I would bring it back one day. Yeah. For now, we're just gonna reminisce. I wasn't a fan at the time, and I actually wasn't even playing the game at the time, so missed out on everything.
Oh boy.
Get my gear, get my gear. It's like, oh, We're ready for battle. Players are the best. All right, I think I'm gonna call it there. I'm gonna go to bed. How about you?
Do you have any final thoughts?
Huh?
Do you have any final thoughts about the episode before we start wrapping up?
Yeah. There we go.
I guess overall it's pretty good that we get. I guess overall it's pretty good whenever something comes about that gives stuff to the. It's always great when we get more death. It's always great when we get more death to the Lord. That's the big takeaway we can take. That's the big takeaway we can take from this episode. I'm sure that's the biggest takeaway I'm sure we can take from this episode.
That's mine as well. Great background stories. Fun new characters. It's always nice to see new characters. They've been doing a lot of that recently, which is nice. But yeah, the continuing of that is really nice.
Yes.
That's a bit. So I think that's one of the main reasons that's keeping the show lively. I obviously keep watching for I'll watch basically. There's not many things that will get me to stop watching the show, but definitely what's helping me come back is all the new characters and destinations. I think development in general is nice, but of the main characters. Of course, they've developed a lot, and that's, I think, why I like Starlight the most. Because there's still a lot of development that's kind of there.
Yes. And you're right. They have to keep bringing in something different in order to make sure people get. In order to make sure there's interest. In order to make sure interest is still there. Make sure people come back.
And they're making waifus all the time. I mean, Samambia, what was it? Yeah, what's that color's name? Is it Samambia? Or I don't know how to pronounce her name correctly. It's something with an S. But yeah, that's many people's new waifu, I think. Good or bad. That may be. But yeah. Overall, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. Got a lot of topics through. I think this drawing came out pretty well. Out of all of them so far, I'd say I'd rank this number 2. I think I like the Spike one still a little bit more. What would you say? Maybe the Nick. You probably would like the Nick's a little bit better. Its own. I haven't read that fan fiction yet. Hey, I'll have to check that out maybe.
I think it's a bit too early for me to be. I think it's a bit too early for us to be calling best drawing so far.
That's true. There's only been 3. Out of the 4 podcasts we've done, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We couldn't do the drawing in the first one. But I'm liking these topics. This was a good one. I liked this drawing. A lot of fun.
Somnambula. That's it.
What was it again?
Somnambula. That's it.
Somnambula. Okay. Yeah. Somnambula.
It's funny. It's funny. The first time you miss a name, and you have to go over it several times in order to actually get them down right. At least though that sort of depends. Some characters we can get, a lot of characters we can get fine. There are others that
she's kind of
require some going back over.
she's kind of the odd one out because all the other characters had very English-based names, whereas Somnambula is it's trying to be kind of more foreign. You know what I mean?
The culture she's from. The culture she's from resembles the Egyptians.
Yes, but yeah. So like, I was expecting them to like Wakuf could have been like, I don't know. Something more Norwegian, I guess. I was trying to think of the middle name my parents were going to give me. It was Narhan or something like that. Very Norwegian. So, or Flash. Okay, Flash's last name works pretty good. Magnus. That's Magnus. Pretty Roman. Magnus is kind of a Roman type of name. So that was kind of more tilted towards it. Miss Main that's pretty English over Japanese or Chinese. But they tried. Somnambula is still probably easier to say than some Japanese name they would have come up with. And this is for kids, so like they kind of have to be a little bit easier to say,
or at least try to be.
Yeah. Somnambula is like the only one that's not pony themed type naming. You know what I mean? Or like they're usually 2-word type things. So Rainbow Dash and Twilight Sparkle and Flash Magnus, even, Mist Main, Somnambula is just, okay, it's just a normal name. Which is totally fine, but it is a little out of the ordinary for this show. It draws your attention to it, for sure. Well, whereas Flash Magnus, I kept forgetting because of Flash Century.
Well, it's better than what they originally named Century. It was actually Brad, of all things.
Brad. It should have been Chad. Brad or Chad, those are both pretty good. I think Chad would have been even funnier, but by the way, little background. So that picture of the under creations on the podcast, that 3D printed pony. I have just acquired a new printer actually, and it would be
nice.
It's extremely good at making figures. Actually, it's kind of its main purpose is to print figures and jewelry and other high detailed objects. Whereas my I think it's an FDM printer, the one that printed that pony in the picture, is very much more based on the idea that you're going to be printing boxes or little gearboxes and things like that are very geometric shapes, not organic things.
And it is more loosely based on the final collectible that is actually, and it is more based in around the scale of a vinyl collectible.
Yes. I can demonstrate it here. Here I can get a demonstration here. I'll be right back. 1 sec.
Obviously, this wrap-up is longer than I expected, but at least to get a taste of what it sometimes happens to the after shows.
So I am back. Here, let me get my camera up, and I'll share my screens, or I'll actually turn on my camera. Oh no! Here we go. Hello, everybody. Here's my hands. But yes, this will be my display. My display mat. Here we are. And so here's what my old printer could do. This is my old printer's best print of Benchy, the benchmark. Here, let me full screen it. No problem. Can I full screen mine? I don't know if I can. Could you share here? No, it's not worth it. Here, okay. This is the best I can do. Sorry, guys. My little camera. Okay. But anyways, I'll get it really close. But you can see this is my new printer's best one. First of all, it's clear. And it looks way more high definition. So, yeah, those are the bows of the prints. So, yeah, way better printing quality, and just overall, it's way better at printing small objects. But the downside with this printer is this printer that printed this one costs $300, and this one that printed this one can only print this big an object, and it's $500. So a very large jump to get this this pristine quality print. It's most obvious on the top. You see that those steps. This one basically has black surface. Or like here, the deck. You see that it's drew the deck out, whereas this is literally just a matte glass. So yeah, just a little bit of a background.
And yeah, the old printer managed to get the details on the toilet there.
On the what? Sorry.
And yet the old printer still managed to get some details down on the toilet that you gave me.
That is true. I spent a good hour and a half messing with settings to get that Twilight looking that good. It came out pretty well, I'd say, that Twilight. I have a giant, a massive Luna that I printed out. It's literally the biggest model I have that is plastic. And I need to paint it still. Maybe in the upcoming stream I should paint that. That might be a lot of fun to watch. What do you think?
That would be interesting. That would be interesting. That would be interesting. Not quite sure exactly what. Not quite sure again. Not quite sure exactly what will happen. Exactly what we'll be talking about next week. But
that's true. It might be a little off topic. We might have to save it for a Luna episode. That's a good point. So
as usual, I'll let you know. As usual, I'll let you know what next week is going to be. As usual, I'll let you know what's going to happen next week. As for the rest of you, I guess we'll see you. I guess we'll see you all next week.
Definitely. See you guys coming up next Saturday.
And hopefully,
and have a good 4th of July. Forgot about that. That's going to be in between us, these episodes.
And hopefully Colin will join it. And hopefully Colin will join us. Yeah. And hopefully Colin will join us next week.
That's true. Hopefully he can make it. All right. See you guys.
Yeah. See you all next week.